But this was the first time we saw Paige really get guarded. This is where we saw what is going to happen in year 2. This is the scout report that needs to be out there on Paige Bueckers once the Dallas Wings get good, because Dallas Wings are going to get good at some stage in her career. This was the game where I'm like, okay, we can shut up the comparison.
The masquerade is over. The false prophets have been exposed. The WNBA's desperate attempt to manufacture its next superstar was dismantled on national television. Paige Bueckers, the so-called next Caitlin Clark, the media-anointed darling chosen to carry the torch, just had her reality check delivered by express shipping courtesy of the Seattle Storm. And folks, it wasn't just a wake-up call. It was a complete demolition.
One Paige Bueckers. Oh, she's better than Caitlin Clark. I mean, stab me in the eye with a spoon, for Christ's sakes. Wow. So that's a thing right now. Last night, Paige Bueckers dropped 44 points. And we're going to look at a video that just dissects and exposes a lot of that shit. Let me tell you. It exposes a lot of stuff involving Paige Bueckers getting special treatment on.
4 months, we've been force-fed the narrative that Paige Bueckers was the heir apparent to Caitlin Clark's throne. The media painted her as the savior of women's basketball, breaking Clark's records faster than a teenager cracks an iPhone screen.
Dump Divas Kat Engelbert is breathing a sigh of relief. Her pretend friends in the mainstream media, they are trying to crown a new star. If the media has it their way, this could potentially be the new face of pretend basketball. And it's not just the woke media. There are even some in conservative media who are voluntarily biting into the shit sandwich. Headline at Outkick. No, Caitlin, no problem. Paige Bueckers can save the WNBA season.
She became the fastest player to reach 200 points and 50 assists in just 11 games, one game quicker than Clark. Headlines screamed about her efficiency, her poise, her cerebral approach to the game. ESPN ranked her 13th in their mid-season rankings. The hype train was barreling down the tracks at full speed, and everyone was buying a ticket for the Paige Bueckers experience. But here's the thing about hype. It's just hot air until it meets cold, hard reality. And reality has a name: the Seattle Storm defense.
It's a little bit different, huh? It's a little bit different out here when you get Caitlin Clark treatment. It ain't so easy peasy getting to play one-on-one, getting to just do your thing, how you want to do it, when you want to do it. Paige Bueckers got the Caitlin Clark treatment for one game, and it...
August 22nd, 2025. Mark it down as the night the Paige Bueckers myth officially died. Coming off a historic 44-point explosion against the Los Angeles Sparks, Bueckers walked into Seattle expecting a coronation ceremony. Instead, she walked directly into a buzzsaw that exposed every single crack in her supposedly flawless game.
She went off in a game against the Los Angeles Sparks, scoring 44 points, but the craziest part about that was her shooting percentage. She shot over 80% from the field, and I tweeted about that, and I was like, that's actually insane. Give props where they are due. Shooting over 80%, scoring 44 points is actually insane. But with this game, like, Paige Bueckers she put on a masterclass in scoring. And I think with that, these are some big numbers, and those are some props.
11 points. That's what the next Caitlin Clark managed against an actual professional level defense. Not 11 in the first quarter. Not 11 in the first half. 11 for the entire game, on a pathetic 2 of 11 shooting from the field. 0 assists, 2 rebounds. The stat sheet looked like a participation trophy from a youth league game. Storm coach Noel Quinn said it perfectly before the tip-off. After scoring 44 the other night, it was in a variety of different ways. Translation: time to see if this princess can handle the Caitlin Clark treatment. Spoiler alert, she couldn't.
Again, you said it's going to be important to be physical with like Paige Bueckers. Can you talk about the defensive game plan for Dallas and like how your team was able to hold them to their fewest points of the season?
Yeah, it started, with our attention to detail with Paige. I thought, Slim was very physical, stayed in her space, and the actions that we guarded her in, we were very aggressive, showed multiple bodies, and kind of, made her hesitant to use the ball screen a little bit. I thought we rotated well. And everyone who ended up being on Paige from E on down, I thought.
This is where the story gets really interesting, folks, because while Paige Bueckers was getting her reality check in Seattle, let's talk about what the real next-level superstar has been dealing with all season. Caitlin Clark, the player who actually changed the entire landscape of women's basketball, has been taking hits that would make NFL linebackers wince. The numbers don't lie. 17% of all flagrant fouls in the 2024 WNBA season were committed against Caitlin Clark. That's not basketball, that's target practice.
Paige Bueckers got Caitlin Clark treatment for the first time in her career, and it looked bad. It looked real bad. Everybody was running around. Yeah, she was cooking. 44 points versus the Sparks. They didn't play a lick of defense, letting this girl play one-on-one basketball in every area of the floor, letting her post up in the mid-range area one-on-one. Now, I'm giving credit. She's a bucket in one-on-one, especially from that mid-range, from the free throw line down area. But this is the first time we watch teams actively be persistent about taking away her spots and what she wants.
The Chicago Sky alone accounted for a staggering number of the flagrant fouls against Clark. Meanwhile, Paige Bueckers has been getting the kid glove treatment, floating through games like she's in a college scrimmage. The moment Bueckers finally faced the kind of physical, aggressive defense that Clark eats for breakfast every single night, she folded faster than a lawn chair in a hurricane. The Storm made it their mission to be physical with her, to contest every shot, to make her work for every single inch. And what happened? She disappeared. Completely.
She got blitzed. She got doubled. And do you want to know what she did as soon as she got blitzed and doubles? She passed. Paige Bueckers, look, she played decent amount early in the game. The game was kind of over and she got subbed out. Paige Bueckers shot 7 times. Paige shot the ball.
The media loved to crow about Bueckers' shooting efficiency. 47.4% from the field compared to Clark's rookie season 41.7%. They painted this as evidence that Bueckers was more polished, more ready for the pros. But here's what they conveniently ignored. Clark was taking the hardest shots in the league while being defended like public enemy number 1. Bueckers' pretty percentages were built on a foundation of soft defense and easy looks. The moment Seattle decided to guard her like the superstar she was supposed to be, those percentages crumbled like a house of cards in a tornado. 2 made field goals. That's not efficiency. That's exposure. Meanwhile, Clark has been shooting over defenders who are literally trying to hurt her, dealing with a physicality that's a defensive strategy, and she's still putting up numbers that make Bueckers' stat sheet look like a rough draft.
Paige Bueckers, let me ask you this. How did it feel to be blitzed and played 94 feet before you even get a chance to bring the ball up court like your name was Caitlin Clark, a.k.a. my precious Cece? You didn't like that, huh? You hear me? You out there was looking like you was about to cry. Yeah, so what do your fans have to say now? Excuse me, where are you Paige Bueckers fans at? That's y'all MVP and face of the league, right? She's boring. She's not good enough. She gets special treatment. But understand, she kept getting blitz after blitz after blitz.
Let's be brutally honest about what we witnessed on August 22nd. Paige Bueckers got a tiny taste of what Caitlin Clark faces every single night, and she crumbled. 1 game of actual defensive pressure. 1 game where the opposing team decided to make her life difficult, and suddenly the next Caitlin Clark looked more like the next player heading to the bench. This is the same player the media propped up as superior in every measurable way, more cerebral, more fundamentally sound, the record breaker who was supposedly better after just half a season. But when push came to shove, literally, Bueckers showed she isn't built for the spotlight Clark has carried since day one. She isn't ready for the physical chess match that occurs when teams game plan specifically to destroy you.
How the WNBA played against Caitlin Clark in terms of the defensive strategy, in terms of the other basketball teams around the WNBA, what they did against Caitlin Clark versus how they've handled Paige this year. Everybody wants to act like Paige is so much better than Caitlin. They're certainly not playing defense on Paige the way they played on Caitlin. They're certainly not attacking her with unnecessary fouls the way they attacked Caitlin with unnecessary fouls last year. So in the 2024 season, there were 35 flagrant fouls called. Caitlin Clark received 17% of the entire season's flagrant fouls, 17%. I mean, we've seen all the injuries, we've seen all the fights, the MMA fights that the WNBA players have gotten into this year. There haven't been 35 flagrant.
While we're talking about manufactured narratives, let's look at some real numbers that put this debate to rest. Caitlin Clark's rookie season. 19.2 points, 8.4 assists, 5.7 rebounds per game, while being the most targeted player in the league. Paige Bueckers' rookie season. 19.7 points, 5.3 assists, 4.1 rebounds per game, while getting the softest defensive treatment in the WNBA. Clark did it facing flagrant fouls at twice the rate of any other player. Clark did it while coaches explicitly told their players to be physical with her. Bueckers did it against teams that were treating her like fine china. And the moment one team flipped the script, she vanished.
Minus 17 on the floor. She had 0 assists and 11 points. 0 assists. 0 assists. That's mental. That's mental for a player that they were trying to say was better than Caitlin Clark. And I'm not even going to say, oh yeah, the points are everything. Points aren't everything at the end of the day. Assists aren't everything. Like, all of these individual stats aren't everything. It was just the fact that she literally... How many blitzes did the Indiana... Or how many open shots did the Indiana Fever get off a Caitlin Clark blitz? And albeit, it's very different when you have a short roller.
Storm didn't just beat Paige Bueckers. They created a blueprint every team will now study. They made Bueckers work for every possession, contested every shot, and refused to give her an easy look. It's going to take not only the primary defender on her, but our second and third layers of defense to really be locked into the actions that she receives, Storm coach Noel Quinn explained. They treated her like a superstar, and she couldn't handle it. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark has been dealing with that exact defensive scheme since her first day in the league. Teams have been putting multiple defenders on her, hitting her with hard fouls, and doing everything short of assault to stop her. And she's still rewriting the record books.
When you guard a player like Paige, it's not just relying on, your guards, whoever has a main matchup, but it becomes a team picture and understanding, rotations on the ball, off the ball. And I think the other thing that we did, early on, we rebounded decently out of it. We didn't give up too many. I think it was 12 second chance points at the half, but not a lot of deflating possessions after having a lot of deflections. And
now, Bueckers' defenders will point to her injury history as an excuse. They'll talk about her torn ACL and how she's still finding her rhythm. But that's exactly the point. Clark never got the luxury of excuses. She came into the WNBA and immediately became public enemy number one. She faced the hardest schemes, the most physical play, and the most intense scrutiny from day one. She didn't get a grace period. She got thrown into the fire and came out a Hall of Famer. Bueckers got the red carpet treatment, and the moment she faced actual adversity, she folded. That's not the mark of a superstar. It's the mark of a player built up by a hype machine that ignored reality.
This year, not enough, but if her name was Caitlin Clark, I bet she would have had at least 9 to 10 assists. You hear me? Because she's more than just a scorer. You hear me? Unlike Paige Bueckers, she's only a scorer. She's not dynamic. She's boring. You hear me? Clearly she fits the narrative, but she can't handle being double team or triple team.
The most telling part of the Paige Bueckers experiment? Even with all the media hype, the manufactured records, and the soft defensive treatment, her team is a disaster. They're well below .500, eliminated from playoff contention, looking like they wasted a #1 pick on fool's gold. Compare that to Caitlin Clark's impact on her team. She took one of the league's worst teams and turned it into must-see television. She filled arenas, broke viewership records, and made the WNBA relevant to casual fans for the first time in years. She didn't just improve her team's record, she elevated the entire league's profile. Bueckers can't even win games when everyone was giving her the benefit of the doubt. What happens when teams start giving her the Caitlin Clark treatment every night? If August 22nd was any indication, it's going to be a long, painful education.
Did you just say Paige Bueckers will save the WNBA season? This season? The same Paige Bueckers that's dating Elmer Fudd? The same Paige that plays in front of empty civic centers for the Dallas Wankers? You expect me to believe she is going to save the WNBA season? She can't even sell out home games. Matter of fact, she doesn't come anywhere close to selling out games. The Wankers rank near the bottom of the league.
The most frustrating part of this charade has been watching the media desperately try to manufacture a rivalry that doesn't exist. They spent months trying to convince us Paige Bueckers wasn't just comparable to Caitlin Clark, but superior. They pointed to shooting percentages without context and highlighted efficiency numbers while ignoring defensive pressure. The narrative was set. Bueckers was the more complete player, the rightful heir. One game against actual defense exposed it all as media manipulation. The Emperor had no clothes, and everyone saw it on national television. Here's the harsh reality the WNBA and its media partners need to accept. There is no next Caitlin Clark. Clark isn't just a great player. She's a generational talent who changed the entire sport. She's the Tiger Woods of women's basketball. Paige Bueckers isn't the next Caitlin Clark. She's just another talented player who got caught up in a hype machine desperate for the next big thing. When she finally faced the same challenges Clark overcomes nightly, she wilted. The WNBA can keep trying to prop up pretenders, but August 22, 2025 will be remembered as the night reality crashed their manufactured narrative. Paige Bueckers got her reality check, and it bounced higher than her shooting percentage against Seattle. Caitlin Clark remains the gold standard, the player who elevated not just her game, but the entire sport. Everyone else is just playing for second place, and based on what we saw in Seattle, some aren't even qualified for that. The agenda has been exposed. The manufactured hype has been deflated, but this conversation can't stop here. We can't let them control the narrative anymore. If you're tired of the propaganda, if you're sick of seeing real greatness ignored for manufactured drama, then do something about it. Smash that like button if you see through the lies. Subscribe to this channel for more truth in a league desperate for fairy tales. And share this video everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Tag the WNBA. Tag ESPN. Let them know we see exactly what they're trying to do. The real question now isn't who the next Caitlin Clark will be, it's whether we, the fans, will ever let them try to build one on a lie again.